I am a firm believer in slime inequality, not because they're the cause of 50% of my deaths in this save, despite being the most basic enemy, or because I was absolutely eviscerated by king slime, but because they are disgusting, gelatinous-filled creatures that are stealing our homes by covering them in their gelatinous filth. Not only that, they're disgusting thieves that not only steal your items, but your loved ones as well. They stole my coal body pillow from Lego Ninjago last week. I have had to live and coexist with these ooze balls, goobers, slop skins, scumdrops, leakers, puddleborn, got brains, muck bloods, sorry excuse for mobs for 145 hours, and today I've had enough. So I have decided to commit hate crimes and atrocities against the slime population, not only for the love of the game, but for research purposes, so that I may biologically analyze them and one day hope to eradicate their disgusting gelatinous being. Before I start the video, if you guys do find the content interesting or find me entertaining, then please like and subscribe. It lets me know that I should do more of these. I'm a new channel on YouTube. I'm just trying to find my way around, so any support is appreciated. And yeah, thanks for staying around, and thank you so much for watching. So first and foremost, I believe that king slime is a single cell organism because, for one, king slime has no organs or complex tissue. He's just a mass of blue, meaning that he doesn't have any differentiated cells and only has one type of cell, or is one type of cell. Not only that, but he's also able to multiply rapidly and send out smaller, more identical versions of himself, probably through asexual reproduction, which we will be talking about now. Alright, let's clear the air with being multicellular. So being multicellular can have a different meaning than being single cellular. Well, obviously, being multicellular means that you have two different cell types. So if humans, right, we're multicellular. We have skin cells, eye cells, bone cells, blood cells, white blood cells, all these other things. But let's say we have this blob of cells, right? And they're all the same cell type. This thing is not multicellular. Why? Well, because for it to be multicellular, it would have to have more than one cell type. You get what I'm saying? They're all the same cell, so therefore they're unicellular. And then there's a second meaning of being unicellular, which is just being one giant cell that is continuous, which I believe that king slime is. An example of this comes from bubble algae. Now, normally you may say that, oh, a single cell organism doesn't grow that big like king slime. Well, you're not wrong, but you are wrong. Take, for example, bubble algae, which are gigantic and can grow up to 2 inches, which I know isn't a lot, but come on, it's something. Now, bubble algae, as I said before, is a continuous single-celled organism because it's made of only one cell type, and also because it's continuous, meaning that instead of just having these small circles that are sectioned off, it's just one continuous blob with no walls. Not only that, but it also has multiple nuclei. Why have multiple nuclei instead of one, you may ask? Well, if we had one nuclei, it would have to be gigantic. And if it's gigantic, well, that's extremely hard to manage and control because you'll have a ton more DNA to manage. And DNA is extremely hard to manage because you have to go through translation, transcription, repair, and a lot more other processes, even modification at times. Well, rather than just having one giant blob of DNA, why not just have small ones that share the same DNA, but you have way less DNA, right? Also, another part of being multinuclear is that it allows you to control for different regions. See, just because you're made of one type of cell or you're a continuous cell doesn't mean that you can't have different regions for different things. Now, you can have regions for digestion, moving around, and excreting waste. Now, let's say, for example, imagine we have one whole office, which is the cell, and the managers are the nuclei. These managers usually control different departments. Now, let's say, instead of having a ton of different managers, we just have this one giant manager that controls all of these departments. That manager now has to keep traveling and sending different messages to hundreds of different departments, and it has to send different messages all the time, and it's overworked and overstressed. Instead of just having one giant manager that's constantly overworked and overstressed, why not just have these small little managers that send messages to specific departments? One manager that sends messages to the digestion region, one manager that sends messages to the eating region, one messenger that sends messages to the pooping region, whatever. Things much more efficient now, right? So we know how king slime and the other slimes work. So they're single cellular, being made of only one cell type, but it's continuous, and they're multinuclear to control different regions of the body, like digestion, movement, excretion of waste, or engulfing. Okay, so now we have to address another thing. We have all these different slimes, right? Normally, you think that single cellular beings have only like simple processes, right? Like I said before, movement, digestion. But how come some of these slimes, they have these very specific and complex abilities, like jungle slimes being able to poison you, ice slimes being able to shoot icicles, right? That would take different types of cell types, and that's natural to assume. Well, just because you're one cell type doesn't mean that you can't have multiple abilities. We have tons of single cellular organisms that have complex abilities. Say like the I can't even pronounce this, I'm gonna butcher this, Clostridium botulinum Ebola. This organism makes a really potent neurotoxin that'll block neurotransmitters from reaching the neuron, which effectively paralyzes prey so it can come in and eat it. So just because you're made of one cell doesn't mean that you can only do one thing. Now, we have another problem to address. How do we go from a big blue slime with no abilities to a jungle slime that can poison you and is the bane of my very existence? Well, normally slimes do something known as asexual reproduction, right? Which asexual reproduction, if you know anything about asexual reproduction doesn't really allow much variation because you are making the same type of slime over and over and over again, meaning that there's no variation in genes, there's really no special abilities that the kids are gaining. So, firstly, even if we only have asexual reproduction, mutations exist. Now, mutations are just random changes in the DNA due to error in DNA replication or DNA repair. It can sometimes change a whole chromosome or just change one nucleotide, which are just small segments of DNA. So, for example, an example of just a one nucleotide change. Let's say we have sickle cell anemia, right? Sickle cell anemia is caused by a single nucleotide change in the beta globin gene, or let's say cystic fibrosis. If you have a single mutation in the CFTR gene, you basically get cystic fibrosis. Now, mutations are very rare, and we usually only have 60 to 70 new mutations per generation. Now, that may seem like a lot, but you have to remember you have trillions of cells, and those cells have billions of DNA. Now, mutations, even though they're rare, they usually happen in areas of our genome that don't really code for anything. Because if these mutations happen in an area that did control something, it would have very serious consequences. Because most mutations are very bad, but DNA repair is accurate, so we don't really have to worry about that. However, once in a blue moon, a mutation is really good and can really help you. It can help you survive, it can help you reproduce, and it's passed on to the next generation by natural selection. But mutations that actually happen in an area that code something is extremely rare, and getting a good one is even rarer because natural selection will obliterate the ones that are bad. So even with mutations are rare as hell, like very, very rare, and they very rarely cause a new species to emerge. So how we get so many slimes? Well, it's simple: sexual reproduction. Now, in the game, it's only shown that slimes can do asexual reproduction through King Slime sending his kids at us, which sounds very, very wrong. But I believe that slimes can actually sexually reproduce. This is because King Slime exists, and we also have a Queen Slime. See, a little lesson here. Almost all, if not all, asexual species are female because females have eggs. The egg is already equipped to form a new individual. The sperm is not. The sperm is just a little add-on to add in genes from the dad to give the next generation some variation. So in asexual populations, all you have to do is just birth an unfertilized egg, and that unfertilized egg will basically just grow up into a clone of you, which eliminates the need for males. So asexual populations are completely female 99.9% of the time. But we have King Slime. We have a male slime. Why exactly would we have a male slime if this was a purely asexual population? Well, I believe that the slime population is actually both asexual and sexual. See, sexual reproduction is the primary thing we need for variation. If you learn anything from grade 12 biology, meiosis is the process of making new gametes, which are sperm and egg. In meiosis, we have two key processes that allow for variation within genes, and this variation within genes leads to these different traits that all of the slimes have: genetic recombination and independent assortment. I will not be going through the whole process as I am tired and I am making this video and I have not had any sleep. So basically, in recombination, right, we'll take the genes inside the sperm or the egg and you'll mix them up randomly. So inside of you, we have genes from mom and genes from dad. We'll have the genes from mom mix up with the genes from dad, and it'll be completely random. So when they mix, we'll get a whole new blend of genes from both mom and dad. Now, we also have independent assortment, which basically, when the sperm splits in meiosis, it'll randomly take different genes with it, right? This is going to hit hard for some of you people, but let's say, for example, your parents are in a loveless marriage and decide to split, and they have 4 kids including you. You're orange, your brother is green, your sister is red, and your other sister is gray. Your parents will pick the kids. So let's say your dad picks red and orange, or green and red, or gray and red. Your mom can also do the same thing. She can do green and gray or orange and red. So each time, it's never the same set of genes that you're getting. It's always different genes that you may get. Like, When the cell splits in meiosis, you will never get the same exact genes. You'll always get two different genes together. So now you have even more variation. Now, this helps a lot because eventually when the sperm goes to fertilize the egg, neither the egg nor the sperm will have the same exact genes as their parents. They'll be completely different, and they'll make a baby that has completely different genes from both the male and the female parents. Now, sexual reproduction is very necessary for surviving new environments and diseases. Like, let's say, for example, the Black Plague, right? It kills off 99% of the population. The way that we beat the Black Plague is by having sex. Literally, having sex and vaccines or whatever. We just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and reshuffling the genes until we have kids that are immune to the Black Plague. This is how animals do it. They just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and just hope and pray for a kid that will eventually have the genes to stave off a disease. And by doing this, those good genes can be passed on by natural selection and they learn to adapt. Now you may be asking, okay, so if sexual reproduction is so good and it gives us so much variation, why not do it all the time? Well, the problem is, to have sex you actually need a partner, which I know most of you cannot relate to. You need a mate. Like, you need a male and a female. Like, you may not realize this, but a lot of the males in the animal kingdom, they have evolved traits to force copulation, because a lot of males in the animal kingdom, if they didn't have these things, they would die alone. They would die virgins, because it is very hard to get females, and you want to pass on your genes. That is the goal of all animals. Now, here's where asexual reproduction comes in. With asexual reproduction, it's good for growing populations because you do not need a mate. You can just do it by yourself over and over and over again and grow a whole population right there. The problem with asexual reproduction, as I said before, is that there's no variation. So if the Black Plague comes, you are done, because you cannot keep reproducing and reproducing and reproducing and hoping for a kid with genes to combat the Black Plague, because that kid has the same genes as you and you won't be surviving the Black Plague for sure. So there are both benefits and disadvantages to both asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. I believe that slimes are sexual and asexual. So now, given that slimes are weak and die fast, they may have evolved asexual reproduction to increase their population fast, so they won't have to find a mate. But at the same time, at some point in their evolutionary history, they may have been isolated from each other, right? Because you always see slimes in different areas. You will never see a normal slime in an ice biome, and you'll never see an ice slime in a fire biome. In hell, basically. This leads me to believe that they also evolved sexual reproduction to survive their biomes, because sexual reproduction, another thing that it can do, is also variation. So let's take hell, right? You'll have, let's say the slimes were split up, right? Well, the slimes went to slime hell, and it was a hellscape, right? Obviously it's named hell for a reason, and the slimes couldn't survive. So you know what they decided to do? They decided to do it. They did it over and over and over again until a baby was born that was more adapted to the conditions, and that baby survived and made children that could carry on those good genes, that could make kids with those good genes, and those kids could make more kids. And now we have this new species of slime that is able to survive the fire biome. Same thing with ice, same thing with the jungle. So, in conclusion, king slime is most likely a gigantic, multi-nucleated, single-celled organism, basically a supersized bubbleology on steroids. Its many nuclei will control many different regions of the body, allowing one massive cell to function despite its size. And then the huge variety of slimes of Terraria can be explained by a combination of asexual reproduction for rapid population growth and sexual reproduction for genetic diversity. And with this, my thirst for slime flesh is now satiated. But for real though, thank you to the guys that watched till the end. I really do appreciate it. And if you find this entertaining, like and subscribe. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you in the next video.